Today we will discuss in detail about the old history questions. Till now we have seen ancient India, medieval India and modern India. Today completely we will deal in detail about old history. Let us see how questions are coming and how to handle them. Always when it comes to paper 2, we should always keep in mind that Indian history, whatever was happening in India, in modern India, it was indirectly or directly influenced by some developments in other parts of the globe as well. Very good evening, Dinesh. Is my voice, video, everything clear to you? Always, we should keep in mind that Indian history and old history are interlinked with each other. That is why some developments in India affects other places, some developments in other parts affect India as well. First, let us create a map. Just broadly, all of you try to draw the map. Start with India, or first start with Africa, so that from African reference we can easily maintain the other parts. Let us say this is equator. This is the equator. Now from there, draw Africa and Saudi Arabia, and here India will come. India is above equator, it won't go beyond equator. Now China, and when it comes to here, Indonesia, Sumatra Islands. Now down is Africa. Sorry, Australia. Australia, New Zealand. Because old history we have to understand in holistic way. Then only we can easily understand it. Europe, Russia. Now here England is there. Now when it comes to here, South America, Canada, USA, and this part here it will mix. So like this. And India always played very, very important role in the world history as well. That is why first this understanding is very much required. Now generally what is the starting point of our syllabus means enlightenment phase. Enlightenment is the first chapter in world history. Just if I show you the syllabus. You can see here. In paper 2, from unit number 16, Enlightenment and Modern Ideas. Major ideas of Enlightenment gone through, so spread of Enlightenment in the colonies. So from Enlightenment period onwards. If we talk about century, it's like 18th century. Same when in case of India, the transition between medieval time period to modern time period. We have seen yesterday from 18th century itself, 2-3 questions were asked. The transition from medieval time period to modern time period. In Europe also, this similar situation. From medieval times to modern times, this Enlightenment phase helped or influenced the European politics so much. The developments are there. Next, origin of the modern politics. Here it talks about American Revolution, American Civil War, then French Revolution, British democratic politics, then Industrial Revolution, and so on. If you consider from 1750s or 1700 onwards, the developments of the old history we are going to track. From 1700 or 1750 onwards, various developments took place in the world history, and that was combinedly given in our syllabus. Now you remember in 1740s and 50s, between two European powers, in India also competition was going on. Can you remember? Can you recollect in 1740s and 50s, 60s, which two European powers were fighting bitterly in Indian subcontinent? Yesterday there was a question also on these two European powers. Very good. Carnatic Wars. Who are the powers? British and French. British and French always bitter enemies when it comes to Europe. That is why if something happens here, it affects India also. If something happens in India, it affects there also. And same is going to happen when it comes to here also, in USA also. Because like India was a colony, here the British interest and French interest conflict each other, they were fighting. Same thing happened here also, British colony, the coastal area was colony, like India was controlled by British. Here also, in this land also, British controlled some territories. We call them American colonies. American colonies, after some time, they also revolted against the British system and they gained the independence. This independence, also we see the bitter rivalry between English and French. They fight here also. Like here also they fight and here also they fight. If you remember, in 1783, American colonies got independence. Can you remember in 1780s what is happening when it comes to India? Which wars were going on in 1780s? In 1780s, Britishers were fighting with Indian powers. Can you name some wars and battles? Yes, very good, Dinesh. Till World War I, they were bitter each other. Mysore Wars, very good. Mysore Wars and Maratha War, first Anglo-Maratha War also started. So Mysore War was going on, Maratha Wars were also going on. This 1783, when America colonies declared independence, now the British entire focus shifted towards India. Now you see how it is affecting the India's future. Earlier, Britishers were having these colonies and they were exploiting this land. Now this land, the people on this land, they declared independence. Now they don't have colonies here. Now they are getting some opportunity in this land. That's why they focused more and more on how to gain this particular territory. That is why there was a question also that initially it was accident getting Indian Empire, but later it became a planned strategy to acquire this territory by the British. I am explaining here that here and here, territories, whatever is happening in other part, it is happening in other colonies also. And there is a context also why I am saying this. There was a question that particularly in the question itself it is asked some development, how it affected colonies as well. That is why. So that is, for that purpose, you need to have this idea also. Similarly, when Suez Canal was not opened, anyone have any idea that Suez Canal was opened in which year? Suez Canal is this side? Very good, 1869. Till 1869, after that, India and Europe communicated. Particularly when it comes to British, they were communicating this way. And it is easiest route to go from London to India, Kolkata. But before 1869, their route was this only. And in fact, this is the same route Vasco da Gama also came to India. Because they had to, there was no route here connecting one, and they had to cross entire Africa, and from there it is coming. Now because of this, there is impact on this territory. This territory was also colonized because of the same strategic location. Whenever these channels of communication are very, very important, those territories are always sensitive. That is why in today's consideration, Strait of Malacca is one significant point. And here, at the moment also, Israel-Hamas issue is going on. And why do you think Israel get the support from European countries and American? Because it is very, very strategic position. If there is no friend in this part for the Western countries, they completely blocked from this area. And they cannot get the oil reserves. That is why European countries should definitely have some friends in this place. This is the same reason Suez Canal crisis also happened. In our history also many times question asked. So this way, till this 1869, this point was important one. And here also British colonized this South African colony. It was controlled. And this was asked, we are going to discuss now. A question was also asked in this point. And a question was there on American Revolution also. A question was there on this also. French Revolution also. So Charter Act also. Likewise, there are so many questions. Just here you see always in a holistic way. Then only you can understand old history very well. You can answer old history questions very well. And particularly this year, the questions were very easy. Yesterday we have seen when it comes to modern India, many statement-based questions. To understand the statement itself takes some time, and if we don't interpret in the right manner, our entire explanation goes in a different direction, and we will not get the good score. But when it comes to old history, questions are relatively straightforward, and when we have to choose 5 questions, 3 questions you are going to write from the old history in paper like this. That is why always have this in mind. Whatever is happening in other part also going to affect India. Suppose even if question comes difficult in world history, still you can have some kind of ideas that I am going to explain now with one question. Still you can manage writing some answers. Now let us go to the questions. One by one, let us go to the question. 5th question. Now you see the first question itself. The American War of Independence finally ended in 1783 when Britain acknowledged the independence of United States of America. Critically analyze. It is very straightforward question. Just we need to just write the sequence of events that led to the independence of America. Here, American War of Independence finally ended in 1783 when Britain acknowledged the independence of United States of America. Just here, our focus goes to that when the American War of Independence started, after that, what are the various wars and battles took place, and finally, how Britain acknowledged the independence of United States of America. Our particular focus should be in 1783 is the final, and before that, in 1775, they proclaimed that Declaration of Independence. July 4th, today also they celebrate as their Independence Day. From that time period onwards, they continuously fought, but before that, also in 1760s, some policies of British monarchy affected them. And from there onwards, you can start beginning the answer. And particularly, you write about 1770 developments, and finally 1783, the Treaty of Paris. And again, you see Treaty of Paris. Why in Paris treaty took place? Because here America believed France. Now French supported American cause, and because of this, a treaty was signed in Paris, Declaration of Independence. Independence was acknowledged. Again, here also, America in France and Britain, again both sides, opposite sides. Same is the case with India also. Now I will show you the answer. The beginning of the revolution, just you see the structure, you will get an idea. Beginning of the revolution, Americans united against the British, beginning of military conflicts and declaration of independence in 1776, and in the end, few points about critical examination also. So here, John Adams, he says, the revolution or the freedom fighting started much before, like that he used to say in 1600 itself, but generally in 1760s, the differences between British monarchy and American colonies emerged. In 1760s particularly what happened, always here British and French used to fight. Here also they used to fight always. Because of that, by 1760s, here also British were fighting. Because of that, they faced economic crisis. And now they have the colonies. Now they wanted to impose certain taxes on these colonies so that they can extract some revenue from there. And moreover, already some taxes were there, but they did not seriously imposed or implemented those taxes till 1760s. But after 1760s, British economy was in a poor condition. They wanted to extract more. Because of that, they were trying to implement the policies very effectively. But till this point of time, these American colonies have seen independence, autonomy in their governance. And now suddenly British monarchy intervening in their affairs, they started it as an interference in their independence by the British Parliament. Actually, American colonies were not against the British monarchy, but they are against the British Parliament. British Parliament. They say because in British Parliament, there were no representatives from the Americans. Now this is going to influence Indian freedom struggle also. That is why we keep on says, you have to increase Indians in the administration. Because American Revolution influenced Indians also. Here, Americans fought against this principle only. That is why when taxes were imposed, they started saying no taxation without representation. Americans started saying that we are not represented in your parliament, then how can you impose tax on us? If king wants entire land, let him take. We don't have any problem. We come under the king, but not under parliament. So that is what the slogan. Now, if you remember, in our case also, when Indigo Revolt started after 1757, in 1860, after 1857 revolt, one of the demands of our peasants is treat like subjects of the king, but you are exploiting us as if we are not part of your empire. That is what in the initial days, our concern, Indian concern also, we are part of your empire and your king and our king is same, but you are being treated very fairly, but we are not treated properly. That is similar kind of issue emerged in America also. That's why they started saying no taxation without representation. And they went to monarchy also to say this, but monarchy did not respond properly. That is why they declared independence in 1776. From there onwards, they have taken up the weapons and they started fighting against the British. Finally, in 1783, they declared completely independence. So here you need to highlight this. Americans united against the British. These are 13 different colonies. 13 different colonies, even though majority are the British, but there are other people also. Germany people were there, Dutch people were there, Spanish people were there, French people were there. That is why these 13 colonies have different kind of culture. 13 colonies are like 13 different countries. But against the same enemy, they all united. Just to mention it, in 1760s, 70s, they all united. Then beginning of the conflict, they declared independence in 1776. Just to mention some important developments or important wars that took place from 1776 till 1783. Finally, in 1781, Lord Cornwallis, the same person who is going to come to India, again you see how it affected Indians also. Here Cornwallis was surrendered. British forces were under Cornwallis. He was surrendered to the American forces. And after that, Cornwallis was sent to India. And do you see how now already he faced defeat there. Now he don't want to take any chance in India. That's why he particularly very bullish against the Tipu Sultan. When Cornwallis came, he also fought one war against Tipu Sultan, Anglo-Mysore War. So that shows how they learned the lessons from here. Because they lost the colony here, they don't want to lose this colony also. This is how it is getting affected. So some of the, just to mention some events, and finally the independence. Here critical examination means only the white people got the independence, but black people did not get the independence. Slavery was still there. For slaves, whether it is independence under British or under Americans, it is same condition. Just in critical examination, just you are going to mention about, even though Americans got independence, but for slaves, it is like normal condition only. Just 1 point critical examination and concluded. Because of this slavery, they are going to fight against this slavery also. American Civil War is going to take place in 1860s. That is where the role of Abraham Lincoln will come. So here main focus is various developments just before independence. All of you clear, students? Just you try to see in a holistic manner. You have to see always what developments is taking place in Europe and what is affecting in other parts. This is the first question. Next one. The Chartist movement. Now, question is coming towards Britain. Here, Chartist. This development took place in 1830s and 1840s. In 1830s and 1840s, this development took place. Now, remember that in 1830s and 40s, in Europe, something else is also happening. Can you remember? Yes, very good, Tarun. It's a labor movement. Following the Reform Act 1832, that is in England. In France and other European, in France, what is happening in 1830s and 1840s? Any idea? In France, by this time, French Revolution already started, 1789. This American Revolution also going to influence French people. In 1830s and 40s, once again, French Revolution is going to take place. Civil rights movement, Napoleon killed, okay. The European revolutions in 1830, European revolutions in 1848. This influenced English people also. Under these circumstances, some Chartist movement emerged, and related to that, this particular question was asked. The question is, the Chartist movement not only fulfilled some of the demands of the middle class, but its ramifications were felt among the working class and the colonies as well. Now you observe this. Impact of Chartist movement on colonies. That's why I was always saying that now something happened here. Question itself is asking what is the impact on colonies. So in different parts, how it is affecting this movement in London, but affected their colonies also. So that is why always I am saying to you that always see world history in a single go. That any part of the globe, if something happens, it is going to affect in some other place also. In question itself, they can particularly ask how it affected colonies as well. Now it is saying that when it comes to Chartist movement, particularly in 1840s, this movement developed in London because of certain circumstances. From 1750s onwards, Industrial Revolution was going on. Because of the Industrial Revolution, new industries came, and these industries, new urban areas came. And when it comes to urban areas, now more and more industries, more urban areas, more workers, labors increased, but there are no proper working conditions. Working conditions. That is why these workers always demanding for good working conditions. So labor movement. Now you have to see in the similar context. Now we are in 1840s. Do you remember anyone when Karl Marx released Communist Manifesto? Any idea? Anyone? Can anyone say in which year Karl Marx released Communist Manifesto? In 1848. You say this. In 1848 and 1850s, Communist Manifesto also released by Karl Marx. Now you observe this. Socialism concept, communism concept, working condition related aspects are gaining more and more dominance during 1840s. These are the circumstances. Industrial Revolution, urban areas, more industries, more workers, but working conditions are poor. Women, children, more number of working hours. So the conditions of people were very poor. They were demanding. And how do they solve their grievances? Through the parliament. When it comes to French, similar kind of problems, but they have chosen the violent path, French Revolution. In other European countries also, revolutions took place. But when it comes to England, always the democratic tradition, they tried to prevail. That is why whenever a problem emerges, they first try to solve through democratic means only. That is why these people wanted to resolve their problem with representation. In British Parliament representation, if people represented their problems, then they felt that their problems can be solved. And now they put 6 demands. They put 6 demands in a charter, and now they submitted to the Parliament. But of course, Parliament did not accept them immediately. But these are the demands. Now let us see. It's talking about how, because of these demands, how middle class affected, how working class affected, and how colonies affected. This is the question. So first of all, you have to know what are these demands, then only you can understand this. Now if I show you the demands of charter, I will read these demands, then you will understand that how these common people were asking for the representation. You say this: all men to have the vote, universal manhood suffrage. That means earlier all people, all men were not having the voting rights. So what they are asking? More voting rights. Voting should take place by secret ballot. Secret ballot so that people can give their vote without any fear. If it is open vote, people are afraid. That is why secret ballot they are asking. Parliamentary elections every year, not once every 5 years. So now you see how people were democratic, they were believing in democracy so much that if elections are every year, so that they can put pressure on the representatives and they can solve their problems. So that shows the maturity of the democracy in London. But again, practically every year election is a expenditure. It takes a lot of resources. That's why it is very difficult to accept this. Next, fourth one, constituencies should be of equal size so that equal representation will be there. Members of parliament should be paid. So this is members of the parliament also should be paid so that they will not involve in the corruption. Or if the members of parliament from working class or from lower section, they will get at least a salary. That is another one. The property qualification for becoming member of parliament should be abolished. So now also, for example, when it comes to India, just universal suffrage, whoever have 18 years of age, then they can vote. But if there is no such thing, then discrimination will emerge. If there is any qualification, only propertied people are having the voting rights, then how it will be? So this is how our democratic system also, since 200 years, evolving over a period of time. In the initial days, it was not purely democratic in the sense, now they are asking for more democracy. These Chartist petitions, they submit to the parliament, but parliament did not accept immediately. But how it affected? First one, middle class. The question is about how it affected middle class. Initially, they did not accept immediately, but gradually they accepted it. Over few decades, they accepted it. And more members were given opportunity in the parliament. Now, the British democracy got strengthened. Middle class always wanted more democratic principles. That is how it satisfied middle class. When it comes to working class, it is the first organized movement of the workers. So this is how you can see all the working people coming together for a cause. And this movement is the first one. Political rights of the workers. It talked about political rights of the workers. Then so much culture also, many publications emerged. They started talking about the problems of workers. That is how the impact on people. Ramification on colonies, it spread the ideas to colonies also. In 1840s, in India also, Indian socio-religious reformers were going on. Socio-religious reformers they are well aware of these developments, what is happening in Europe. French Revolution, European Revolution, Chartist movement, and in India also, Indians were asking for more democratic principles, and it affected Indian conditions as well. It is not only about India. Britishers were having colonies of Australia, Canada, Ireland. In their respective colonies, they were having the demands. In India also, when it comes to Factory Act, factory conditions were also, Factory Act was passed, and working conditions in India also tried to improve. So whatever limited decisions they have taken, still these movements affected. Inspiration for labor movements in different parts of the world, including India. Right to contest elections. Yes, in the present day condition, right to contest elections. So that is how it deepened the democratic principle in London, in England, and in other parts of the globe as well. So this is how Chartist movement. So if you know the context, under what circumstances Chartist movement came, even though if you are not able to remember immediately, but still you can write the answer with analysis. All of you? Shibradashan, Dinesh, Sanju, Shashidharan, Tarun, all of you clear? With respect to Chartist movement. Now, next question. Now you see, the revolutions of 1848 were shaped by the ideas of democracy and nationalism, critically examined. So in 1848, it is asking about 1848 revolutions were there, shaped by democracy and nationalism. In 1848, in Europe, the political system was controlled by the monarchies. So in 1848, the conditions were monarchy, and these monarchs were having despotic powers, no basic rights for people. It's like now come to India. Suddenly, during First World War, they brought Rowlatt Act. So why Indians were protesting against Rowlatt Act? That is why when Indians were protesting against Rowlatt Act, Jallianwala Bagh massacre took place. So when some important leaders were arrested by the British and without trial they were imprisoned, Indians were protesting against such violations of the basic human rights. Similar things were happening in Europe much before in 1840s. So no basic rights, and now people were asking for rights. And when it comes to despotic powers, monarchy were controlling everything. And when it comes to bureaucracy, when it comes to officials, nobles, common people were not represented. As a result, now they are asking for more democracy. So this is why people were urging for more democracy. Now when monarchs were not listening, European Revolution took place. That is the first part of the question. Second part is about nationalism. Nationalism means these are the rulers were kings, and kings always wanted to expand their territories. That is what happening since ancient times. In India also, in everywhere, same. Kings always wanted to expand their territories. In modern sense, we call them imperialism. Imperialist attitude. Expansionary attitude. But as a result, what happened? Certain people, even though they are not culturally similar people, but in the empire building process, in empires, multinational. Multinational means, for example, Holy Roman Empire. One example. Pivotal revolution before unification of Italy were treated second-class subjects, not citizen. Role of Austrian Kingdom, Vienna Conference. Very good. Best example. Now you take Austrian Empire. Now when it comes to Austria, in Austria, Austria is one example. In Austria, German people were also there. Italian people were also there. And other nationalities like Serbs. Now you observe this. I have given only 3 examples, but there are so many such nationalities under Austrian Empire. Austrian Empire. Now German people don't want to stay under Austrian Empire because there are certain Germans in other empire. Germans in other empires. Some kingdoms belong to the German people alone. So now Germans scattered in different kingdoms. Italians also scattered in different kingdoms. Some directly under Italian rulers, Italian kings. Some under Austrian Empire. So likewise they distributed. Now these Italians wanted to come together. Germans wanted to come together. These Serbs wanted to come together. And as a result, later World War I also is going to take place because of these people only. Again, example is Austrian Empire only. Because of Austrian Empire and Serbs conflict, World War I also going to come. When it comes to 1848, like German people wanted to come together, Italian people wanted to come here. This is the meaning of nationalism. And now whenever French Revolution took place in 1848, Italians revolted against Austria, Germans revolted against Austria, other nationalities revolted against Austria, but Austria was very powerful at that time. They crushed these revolts violently. But the inspiration behind this revolution is nationalism, and another one is more democracy. This is the same reason. When they want to express themselves, because of lack of basic rights, they were arrested, they were killed, they were tortured. So no basic human rights. But already Enlightenment principles already started questioning the powers of monarchy, powers of the absolute powers of the system itself. Now people also started questioning their own rulers. That is how more democracy and nationalism principles started affecting the revolutions of 1848. So these are the 2 basic ideas, democracy and nationalism. But question is critically examined. That means these are not the only 2 reasons. There are other reasons. Particularly in 1848, there was an economic crisis. And whenever unemployment, whenever food crisis comes, whenever basic economic conditions were poor, obviously you are going to see the impact of it. Even today also, we are going to see similar kind of effects. Just you need to write main focus democratic aspirations. Second one, rise of nationalism. When it comes to critical examination, it influenced by previous movements. It's not a sudden one. And economic factors. So likewise, some other factors, just you have to mention about the critical examination. That is the question. Hungarians, example, very good. Is it clear? The 1848 revolutions, major factors, nationalism and democracy. So this is how you have to see in 1848 condition. Next question. 5D. You see here, The British imperialism in South Africa, just now I have shown you. South Africa from 1867 to 1902 was influenced to large extent by the capitalist mining of diamonds critically examined. So this was the, in this part, South Africa, particularly in 1860s, 1870s onwards, diamonds made or played significant role in the controlling of South African colony. Explain, critically examine. And now South Africa just, it is one of the difficult questions in this part because it is not having the regular books, whether it is Ranjan Chakrabarty or other books, do not have that much information about this. But with the broad, the colonialism in South Africa, with that understanding only, you have to write. But I have given model answer clearly that just you need to highlight in 1867 what happened. This time, suddenly diamonds were discovered in South Africa. And as a result, diamonds were very precious economically. Now they wanted to control more and more territories so that they can mine diamonds. Apart from that, after some years, gold was also discovered. And now diamonds and gold both played a dominant role in colonization, imperialism of South Africa. But it is critically examined, and there are other reasons also. That this area is critically located area. So you can see this already since 1810s. This area was under British, and the tradition was continuing after 1867 also. Already it started, that's why after 1867 also it continued. It's not a sudden one here. And second one, this is very strategic location to communicate between India and Europe. This route they have to go. That's why it is a very strategic location. For that, they wanted to control this land. And not only gold and diamond, already the other slaves, plantation, and other resources, like they exploited India, they used Indian colony for the raw material to supply raw material to British industries. Similarly, they have taken the raw material from South Africa to England. For that purpose also, they colonized it. But during this time period, particularly, they are asking that you will highlight diamonds and gold. Because of this, they wanted to control more and more territories. And during this time, what happened? Like America was having 13 colonies. In South Africa also, many colonies were there. Like America, 13 colonies, they were all belong to British, but 13 different colonies. Similarly, in South Africa also, here, different colonies were there. Now, because of the diamonds and gold, now they don't want to have different government structures here, and they wanted to control everything. Same thing happened in India also. If you remember, initially, Bombay presidency was there. Then Madras presidency was there. Kolkata presidency was there. And after that, what happened? Gradually, they don't want to see as 3 different presidencies. They wanted to consolidate all the presidencies under single Governor General. That's why earlier Governor General of Kolkata, Governor General of Madras, or Governor of Madras, Governor of Kolkata, Governor of Bombay. Later, Governor General of India, it emerged. Because they wanted to consolidate all the 3 presidencies. Same thing they are going to do here also. That is why that happened after 1867. And they were also having some problem with Boers. Boers were farmers, majorly Dutch farmers. And simply, they are white farmers. And now, these white farmers, they wanted to preserve their own independence here. As a result of it, Britishers wanted to impose their policies, but these white farmers wanted to preserve their culture. As a result, now this movement, this created trouble in the exploitation of the diamonds and gold, And as a result, some Boer wars also going to take place. In first Boer war, they will win, and in the second Boer war, they were completely defeated. And that Boer war ended in 1902. That was the question. The second Boer war ended with 1902. 1867 is the time period when diamonds were discovered. And between these two, complete control of South Africa went into the hands of British. So that is what you need to explain. Just you highlight various developments from 1867 onwards. Increased settlements, diamonds discovery, demand for unification of the colonies, then Boer wars, and all these factors made the British to consolidate their territories in South Africa. Economic interest, strategic significance, consolidation of the territories, likewise. Critical examination means it is not happened only in 1867 onwards. Before itself, already they had the tradition of controlling these territories. Is it clear? So this is one little difficult question, but this is how we have to manage. (5E). Gandhiji participated in Boer War, very good example. And Gandhiji was also there in South Africa at this time. In 1899 and 1900, Gandhiji was also there. So this shows the Indian colony, India was colony of British, and this was also colony of the British, under same empire. Empire means here also king is same king, and for these people also king is same. But different circumstances, they followed different principles. Next, 5E. Now coming to almost in the syllabus, almost end of the syllabus, this question. The supremacy of USA after the end of Cold War had its challenges as well, critically examined. So it is asking about after 1991. After 1991, when Cold War ended, during Cold War, USA versus USSR. Capitalist bloc was, it takes time, madam, you can go. Capitalist and USSR was leading communist bloc. And this Cold War, after Second World War, intensified. Now during Cold War time period, entire world divided into two blocks, capitalist bloc and communist bloc. Both fought against each other through proxy wars. Finally, in the wars and battles, USSR, loss of men, material, and financial bankruptcy. And as a result, the USSR itself disintegrated. After the disintegration, now there is only, earlier two superpowers were there, now only one superpower emerged, that is USA. So this became single superpower. And this question is asking the impact of this emergence, ascendancy of USA as superpower, what was the impact? Now you observe this. Here, (1991), this became superpower. Now question is asking, because of this, it created challenges also. Challenges as well. So you have to mention some advantages and mainly challenges. After 1991, USA became very superpower, and it started influencing every part of the globe. And after 1991, particularly in this area, many troubles in Middle East. Because of oil, here their geostrategic interests are there, and many conflicts emerged. This is one challenge, negative impact of it, because no one can challenge it. Now, if someone challenge, they will control United Nations. So old institutions, old organizations or international organizations, they were getting the funding from USA, but now these organizations are manipulated to further USA interests, not for the human interest, not for the global interest. So they utilized these international organizations like United Nations to further its interest, not for entire world leadership. So that is another one. Now because of this, the legitimacy of international organizations questioned. Why United Nations respected after Second World War? Because earlier League of Nations failed. Because of that, Second World War happened. But United Nations, it tried to maintain its integrity, the core principles that to protect humanity from the scourge of war. It tried to maintain. It was very successful also in many cases. Still, it was not successful in some cases wherever, particularly USA and USSR involved. After 1991, whenever USA interests are involved, UN also could not do anything. That is another challenge. So if you challenge the international organization, once again, there will be no order in the global politics. Same thing, whatever we learned in League of Nations failure. League of Nations also created to maintain the order, but they were not listening. Germany did not listen, Italy did not listen, and Japan did not listen to League of Nations. Finally, what happened? Second World War emerged. Now, similarly, if USA don't listen to UN, Russia don't listen to UN, China don't listen to UN, what happens? They take their own decisions, and the victims of their policies, they will not have any way to express their concern. They don't know how to solve the problems against these challenges. That's why, at least if UN is there, small countries can go to UN and get the support of other countries. But if UN itself is not functioning, then where would they go? That is why they tried to solve the problem by going for the wars. Conflicts, that is once again, war-like scenario will emerge and Third World War may take place. Russian-Ukraine war still going on, and because, again, the interests of these powers, Israel-Palestine conflict, Israel-Hamas conflict, now it will go on. Whenever USA interests are involved, they won't listen to the international organization. They further their interests. That is how the big brother attitude increased after 1991. Conflicts increased because of their economic interest. The international organization's legitimacy got questioned because of their interest. So that is what challenges you have to mention. So here, few positive impacts. Positive impacts means it is supporting the democracy. Many countries got the favor from democracy. So that's why democracy increased because of it. But first you highlight the challenges, negative impact, unilateralism, hegemony, economic disparities, security dilemmas, terrorism, the non-state actors, the rise of non-state actors, terrorists, more terrorist attacks increased because of hatred against the USA, rise of non-state threats, regional conflicts emerged. Critical examination is some positive aspects are also there, like promotion of democracy, economic growth and globalization, enhanced security cooperation, etc. So some positive points in the end critical examination, but mostly you have to highlight the negative aspects. Is it clear? So this is how you have to deal this question. Next, 6a. The philosophers and thinkers may have laid the foundation of the French Revolution, but it was precipitated by social and economic reasons. Question is one of the easiest questions in this paper. Simply it is asking factors for the French Revolution. While you are framing the answer, just you need to highlight that philosophers, the role of philosophers and the role of social regions and economic regions. The factors, the how philosophers laid the foundation for French Revolution by highlighting equality, liberty, fraternity. They enlightened the citizen or people of French people. They started questioning the monarchy. Same thing, like the absolute powers of monarchy was questioned. Separation of powers, Montesquieu, and they attacked the church, evils of the church, Voltaire, just to highlight it. Those are the contributions of philosophers. But socio-economic reasons are the main one. Society, French society was divided into three parts. First one, clergy, nobles, and common people. But common people were paying more taxes, but first two classes were enjoying the privileges. Now, socially, the common people revolted against this system. That is why, again, representation also. Common people were not represented, they were not treated equally in the government also. That's why they wanted. Economic reasons, unemployment, rising unemployment, famine-like situations, food prices were increasing, inflation, and as a result, people are looking for better economic opportunities. So just you need to highlight social reasons, economic reasons, and the role of philosophers. One of the easiest, because every student prepare this question. Next one, 6B. Now you see how UPSC very intelligently framed the. Now if you want to attempt 6, you have to attempt first 6A is very easy. But when it comes to 6B, a little bit difficult. But if you follow the Enlightenment phase properly, Karl Marx theory properly, this question is also one of the easier one. Marxian socialism claims itself to be a scientific socialist theory capable of explaining the history of humankind discussed. So it is asking that how Karl Marx socialism is different from the earlier versions. Earlier versions were criticized by Karl Marx and Engels as utopian socialism. So they said before Karl Marx, before 1840s, some people were saying about the socialist principles. Socialism means exploitation should not be there, and workers and peasants, they also should get a share of the wealth of the nation, so that poverty will not be there. So these are the principles of socialism. It influenced Indian nationalism also. Yesterday we have seen one question also. Congress Socialist Party. Socialist parties, their inspiration is Karl Marx theory only. Karl Marx, before Karl Marx, some enlightened individuals already they started experimenting socialist kind of society, where all people are treated equally, no exploitation take place, everyone will get fair deal of wealth. No exploitation, workers also, owners also will enjoy the same benefits. But Karl Marx and Engels said the previous thinkers, for example, Robert Owen, one thinker was there. Some examples like Saint Simon, one thinker, Robert Owen, Fourier. Likewise, some people, they were saying that based on the moral principles, socialism or socialist type of society is possible. But when it comes to Karl Marx said, out of morality, out of the well-wishing of just by having theoretical model, society will not transform from exploitative nature to the equal society. And he said, and along with Engels, they said that people have to revolt against this system. Unless there is a revolution, you cannot completely overhaul this system. And they started giving the explanation to the history also. This is where the scientific socialism means. They said that the workers and the exploited people must revolt against the exploiting people. This happens only when you understand history in the right perspective. They have completely changed the historical narration also. They said that our history is always the struggle between the upper class and lower class. They said that upper class always exploited the lower classes. And this is what they applied, this principle applied every country by every section of society. This Karl Marx theory not only influenced the Europeans, it influenced Chinese people also. Today also China is a communist state. It influenced Russian people also, Russian Revolution. It influenced in India during freedom struggle. It influenced, and South America, even some of the countries are still following the Karl Marx principles directly. Government influenced. Africa influenced. In Arab countries also influenced. Nasser, he was one of the leading proponent of this. So likewise, the entire world affected by this principle, because they have changed the narration of the history. They said that throughout history, there were two classes of people, one exploiting people, another exploited people. Only when exploited people completely overhaul through revolution, this history can be transformed, then only equal society is possible. Just by having mere wishes and just out of goodwill of the upper class, society will not change. Exploited people must unite and must violently overthrow the system. That is why even today also we are facing the problem. Naxalism is influenced by this. And Naxalism or Naxalites, they won't believe in the democracy. Democracy believes in peaceful way of resolution. But they believe that only through violence you have to change the system. Otherwise, system will not change. That is what scientific way of looking at the history. That's what Karl Marx considered. What is the question? Marxian socialism claims itself to be a scientific socialist theory. Whatever this principle, they claimed itself is a scientific socialist theory capable of explaining the history of humankind. So this is how they have reinterpreted the history. Many historians later took the inspiration from this. In case of India also, D.D. Koshambi, R.S. Sharma, Romila Thapar, they all inspired from this Karl Marx theory, and they also started talking about common people, not the rulers, dynasty rulers, like one ruler. Our history, most of the narration was one dynasty ruled, and after that new dynasty came, after that another dynasty came. That was the narration. But Karl Marx influenced scholars, they started talking about what happened to the peasants, what happened to the laborers, what happened to the other lower sections. In case of India, untouchables, what happened to them, what happened to Shudras, what happened to Vaishyas in comparison with state power Kshatriyas and Brahmanas. That is how everyone started seeing history in a new angle. So that is what Karl Marx's contribution. So you have to just explain what is the contribution of Karl Marx towards this particular theory. Next question. All of you understood? Getting some clarity on Karl Marx's interpretation? So this was class struggle, he always says. Next one, 6C. Enlightenment was not confined to scientific revolution alone, but humanism and ideas of progress too were its inseparable constituents examined. Just here you have to highlight that Enlightenment principles towards humanism. So human individual rights. So just humanism related. Focus on the individual liberty, equality among the people. So moral philosophy, Just humanistic ideas it is talking. Now progress of economic progress, oh, economic progress and political progress, individual rights. Economic progress means the creation of the wealth. Humanistic principles of enlightenment. Just you have to highlight humanistic principles. 7a. The impact of industrial revolution on the middle class world view is reflected in the views of Adam Smith, Thomas Malthus and Jeremy Bentham. In India also these people will come. In case of Indian British policies, they were influenced by Jeremy Bentham. If you remember, there was a quote given by William Bentinck. Focus on social aspect with humanism. Yes. So William Bentinck, he was the one who abolished sati, thuggees. So he has taken some of the principles, some of the British policies which helped the Indians on large scale. And he was one of the supporter of Jeremy Bentham. So he says, in fact, it is not me who is ruling India, it is Jeremy Bentham, it is you who is ruling India. So that was the kind of impact Jeremy Bentham had on the people or administrators of those times. Now here it is saying, impact of industrial revolution in middle class, on the middle class world view is reflected in the views of this. Adam Smith is known for economic principles. He is considered as the propounder of capitalism. In The Wealth of Nations, he said how countries can progress, how wealth should be generated. So this is how the impact of industrial revolution is the wealth creation. Adam Smith talks about wealth creation in the economic sphere. Thomas Malthus, he talks about social sphere. He says this industrial revolution has created good health conditions, life expectancy increased. As a result, burden on land also increased. Population increased. Once population increases beyond certain limit, nature will have its own way of limiting the population through diseases, through famines, through droughts. Likewise, the society, the population growth also will be curtailed through the natural calamities. That is social angle given by Thomas Malthus. So that is middle class worldview, and he represented in social. Adam Smith, he represented economic angle. Thomas Malthus represented social angle. Jeremy Bentham, he talks about administration, political angle. He talks about utilitarian principle. Maximum number of people should get benefit. Even if some people are taking the pain, still for maximum benefit, you have to take the decisions. So those are the worldview of the middle class during Industrial Revolution phase, and their worldview in economic angle, in social angle, in political angle represented by these three people. Simply you have to explain the contribution of Adam Smith, Thomas Malthus, Jeremy Bentham towards the progress of humanity. All right, clear? Next question. Discuss the different stages. It is one of the easiest question, very straightforward question. Discuss the different stages of the unification of Italy from 1848 to the occupation of Rome in 1870. 1848, revolutions of 1848, from that time period to the occupation of Rome in 1870. There are different stages. While you are preparing, you will prepare step by step. In 1848, what happened? Then in 1860s, what happened? So they are going to fight with Austria to get, because Austria was the enemy of Italy. Many Italian states were under control of Austrian Empire. They have to take back their lands from Austrian Empire. And whenever they get the opportunity, they used to fight with Austria, and diplomatically, they used to isolate the Austria. Finally, they get their territories under Italy. So those stages you need to mention. Revolution of 1848, they revolt against the Austrian kingdom. And in that process, they enlightened the people. That is one contribution. Next, Sardia Piedmont's leadership. From there, this is Italian kingdom. Under its leadership, they are going to fight against the Austria. During that time period, in 1850s, there was one incident, Crimean War. And today also, Crimean Peninsula is still in news because of Russia-Ukraine war in the same place. During that war, French, British, and Russians were fighting, and Italy supported the French. So that after the war, French supported the Italian cause, and because of this, they got some territories from Austria. Austro-Sardinia War in 1859. So this is how Austria-Sardinian War, Italy fought with Austria. Then later, when Germany and Austria fight, again during that condition, they get some territories from Austria. Finally, Rome. Rome is important place for Catholics because Pope will be there. But Rome is considered as the capital of Italy. They take the inspiration from Roman Empire. During Roman Empire, you remember in ancient times, Roman Empire, Rome is the capital of Roman Empire. Italy believes they are the true successor of Roman Empire. Without Rome, their unification will not complete. But Rome is protected by French armies. Now, when Germany and French war took place, France taken out the armies of France from Rome, and at that time they went and occupied. Italy people went and occupied. That is the last one. Just you need to highlight here the contributions of Cavour, Garibaldi. Garibaldi, one leader, where he liberated certain Italian kingdoms. So while you are preparing, it's a very general question. You are going to prepare in this way only, and you are going to write the answer as it is. Now 7C. It is also one of the easier questions. Source for 7A. Source for 7A. What is the question 7A? (6B, 6C). 7A, impact of revolution. Adam Smith, actually there is no source, Dinesh. Whatever books we are reading, we won't read Adam Smith and Thomas Malthus, Jeremy Bentham in a single place. But the information is scattered. Jeremy Bentham we study. Jeremy Bentham, when it comes to Indian administration also, just I said, William Bentinck. So under that context, we study about Jeremy Bentham little bit. But Thomas Malthus, in geography, in GS geography, you will read. But in history, we won't read. And when it comes to Adam Smith, we study. Study means in economy, this person will come. In Indian history also, you will find the impact of enlightenment. In that phase, you will find. But combinedly, we will not find in the same place. So you have to mix the knowledge and you have to give on the spot. All right, some questions will be like this, just you have to think on the spot. You will have information scattered way, but you have to bring it in one place. Next one, 7C. It is also one of the easiest questions, very direct. Here, Norman Loewy book itself contains this. The Treaty of Versailles contained in itself the seeds of the Second World War. Treaty of Versailles happened after First World War. So when it comes to 1919, World War I concluded. Main enemies this time, French versus Germany, because Germany defeated French in 1870. From that time period onwards, Germany took the leadership of the Europe. And French always aimed to defeat Germany. They were trying for taking vengeance. Now in 1919, Germany was defeated. As a result, Germany territories were taken away, some territories. And war reparations, they had to pay a lot of war damages. And most importantly, war guilt clause. war guilt clause. That First World War caused by so many factors. Austria was responsible, Germany was responsible, French, English, Russia, everyone were responsible. But the sole responsibility was imposed on Germany, because at that time Germany was very powerful, everyone jealous of Germany. Germany was increasing their military status, colonial powers. As a result, they wanted, particularly French wanted to punish Germany to that extent that Germany will never become a threat to France. But they went to that extent that complete responsibility of World War I pinned down to Germany. Now, as a result, Germans felt humiliated. And now, because of territories lost and more importantly, war repression, as a result, here economic crisis emerged. When economic crisis emerged, the feeling of humiliation increased. Under these circumstances, leaders like Hitler emerged. So these we call fascist parties. Hitler emerged. Now leaders like Hitler and Mussolini, they talked about complete rabid nationalism. And they inspired common people that they are ready to die for the country so that their humiliation will be solved, and they want to take revenge on French people, and they want to gain their glory back. So they started loving their motherland, fatherland, so that they were ready to die for the cause of the nation. This rabid nationalism. And now Hitler, when he came to the power, he wanted to expand their territories back. Not only their own territories, but he wanted to expand his empire into other territories, like ancient times, like medieval times, expanding the territories of the state. So this is how the Treaty of Versailles had the seeds of Second World War. This is also direct question you are going to read while you are preparing. Nothing to fear about this. Next, 8A. UNA was the necessity of the time when the World War II ended, critically examine its achievements and shortcomings. Straightforward question. While you are preparing, you are going to prepare the success of United Nations and failures of the United Nations. Just you need to highlight achievements of United Nations, what it solved, and shortcomings, on what circumstances it could not solve. For example, today also, the problem, Israel-Palestine problem, it could not solve. Kashmir issue, it could not solve. Whenever USA and USSR, superpowers involved, they could not solve it. And wherever third world countries are there, it tried to solve it. That is what you are going to highlight when it comes to United Nations. This straightforward question. The historical causes for the rise of anti-colonial movement in Southeast Asia were cultural differences, spread of Western education, and the emergence of communist ideas discussed. This is also, it appears difficult, but if you interpret to Indian context, let us assume Indian context, the similar kind of principle apply to Southeast Asia as well. Now you observe this, cultural differences, spread of Western education, and emergence of communist ideas. You observe in case of India, India was a colony. Now what happened in 1830s, 20s, 40s? They imposed British culture. British culture was imposed, and as a result, they degraded Indian culture. Now gradually, Indians also reacted to this. Through socio-religious reform movements, Indians started glorifying the Indian culture. When Britishers were saying Indian culture is degraded, we were barbarians, we don't know how to behave, we don't know how to civilize, and we don't know how to rule. When the British culture is imposed, now Indians responded. Same thing happened in Southeast Asia as well. The historical cause for the rise of anti-colonial movement. In India also anti-colonial movement started. In Southeast Asia were cultural differences. That is what you are going to mention. But in case of India, British culture. When it comes to Southeast Asia, Dutch culture, French culture. So likewise, whatever the European power was there, that culture was imposed. Second one, spread of Western education. Now in India, the enlightened nationalism, Western education came, and these Western educated people only, they started knowing about the democracy. They started talking about nationalism, rights of the people. Now these enlightened, educated, Western educated people only pulled the people and caused for the rise of nationalist movement. Same thing happened in Southeast Asia also, in Indonesia, in Vietnam, and those things. And now our time period is different. This is before Cold War or before 1947. At that time, communist ideas were not strong in India. Despite that, socialist ideas, communist ideas were there, but in India, Indian National Congress was having the control over nationalist movement. But when it comes to Southeast Asia, after 1947 or after Second World War, it started. At that time, communist ideas were very powerful, and communist ideas started influencing them. As a result, that led to the rise of anti-colonial struggle. So, three causes: cultural differences, spread of Western education, emergence of communist ideas led to the anti-colonial struggle and freedom. You have to highlight those things. And last one. Again, in last case also, it is also similar case. Arab nationalism was not only a cultural movement. Cultural movement means, again, like this. When it comes to Arab culture, Islam, common religion, and they have the common past, caliphate system, and those are the cultural things. But when it comes to Arab nationalism, was not only cultural movement, but also anti-colonial struggle. So here, colonial people like British, French people, they were controlling their lands, and because of the common cultural movement, like they were bringing their past, common religion, Islam, common caliphate system earlier. So likewise, common Arab ethnicity. So this common cultural identity, not only cultural movement, that cultural movement helped Arab nationalism, and also all these people felt humiliated in the hands of the imperialist powers like British, French, and against that Arab nationalism emerged. This is also one of the straightforward question. While you are studying about Arab nationalism, you will study it. So this is how modern world history questions came. Is it clear? Shabaridasan, Dinesh, Shashidharan? The questions when it comes to modern world, maybe if you are not yet studied world history, it appears difficult. But if you give one reading, then it appears this paper is easy paper. Is it all right? So here we are completing the mains 2023 detailed discussion of the papers. All right, if you have any doubts, you can contact me. This is my personal number. You can message me, and whatever help you require, you can ask me. And after discussion, you will get some idea that if you have command over answer writing, you can write these answers very well. Because knowledge will be there for you, but it will be scattered. Only when you have a lot of practice, then you will master how to bring the points in coherent manner, systematic way. So I strongly suggest you to write the answers regularly. And I also have the program daily answer writing. So you can join daily answer writing program also to get command over the answer writing skills. All right. Thank you. We will meet in the next class whenever some free sessions will be there. I used to post in the Telegram group. You can freely join. Thank you, Shabradashan. Thank you, Dinesh. Thank you, Shashidharan. Thank you all. Okay, we'll meet next time. Thank you.